Yo, what's up, everybody? This is International Master Daniel Rensch back again with Chess.com here on our YouTube channel. Today we're going to jump right into the greatest chess players in the history of our games series. The first player I'd like to cover is the infamous and genius, both infamous for his brilliance on the board and his antics off the board, that being Robert James Fischer, the only American chess world champion. And what I'd like to do here, instead of showing one complete game, as there were so many to choose from, instead I decided that showing three of my favorite Fischer moments, three of, in my opinion, his greatest combinations might be the best idea. So let's do this thing and jump right in. Robert James Fischer was an incredible specimen of chess player, someone who changed the game. We always have arguments. You hear players talk about who's the greatest chess player of all time. You know, the most talented chess players. We talk about Capablanca. You hear Fischer mentioned, obviously Kasparov, and the most recent world champion, Viswanathan Anand from India. And unfortunately, it's an impossible question to answer like in every other sport. We don't have time machine or time travel yet, so having these players face each other in matches is obviously not a possible option. But I will say that in most people's opinion, Bobby Fischer and Garry Kasparov separate themselves mainly because of their dominance over their particular generation. We can't compare champions from different generations to each other, but we can compare their dominance over the players of their generation. And Bobby Fischer changed the game in terms of preparation, in terms of his dedication to the game. He's famous for quotes that just proved that he was on another level in terms of his love for the game and his fighting spirit and the things that he was able to achieve as far as match play against the dominant Soviet players of the time. You're going to see more videos in this series about Bobby Fischer and what he was able to accomplish. But like I said, I'd like to show three of my favorite Fischer moments, three of my favorite Fischer combinations, things that he did that I had never seen before until I saw these games, and haven't seen things completely similar since then. So here we have a game where he was facing off against James T. Sherwin, who was a very strong American player in the 50s. This game is from 1957. Bobby Fischer has just played the move rook to a7 with the intention of attacking the a4 pawn, and black chose to follow that with the move knight to g4, unleashing an attack on the bishop on c3, as well as preparing potential mating threats on the king side. At first glance, most players evaluate this position as wildly unclear, with white perhaps thinking he might have to settle on capturing here, allowing black to capture with the knight, and potentially removing this strong bishop on d5. However, Fischer had already been prepared for this idea coming for black, and prepared a very special combination that I really enjoyed seeing for the first time. That move was rook takes a4, anticipating that black would capture on c3 and win his pawn back. However, in this position, Fischer unleashed something I had never seen before in a chess game. I hope everyone else enjoys it too. Bobby Fischer played the move rook takes f7. Absolute insanity, as it loses in one move to rook to c1 check. How can he get away with this move? The reason he can is because of the brilliant queen f1 double exclam. An absolutely incredible move, unleashing a counter combination, a counter discovered check to his own back rank checkmate. An absolutely incredible move for people to understand, because not only does it play off this potential discovered check, it threatens so many things, including rook takes f8 checkmate and the incredibly unfathomable move that was played in the game, queen takes c1, double exclam again, taking advantage of the fact that this move doesn't work due to rook f1, discovered check, picking up the queen, and finishing the game up an entire rook. Absolutely incredible stuff from our champion Bobby Fischer, and the game finished with quick discovered checks, defending of checkmate, and eventually the bishop coming here to threaten checkmate in a couple moves. The game was over. Now, before we get to one of our most famous examples, the game of the century with Donald Byrne last, here I'd like to show a positional combination favorite of mine. Bobby Fischer playing bishop takes b6 and knight to d5, cementing an absolutely beautiful, brilliant piece on the d5 square. But even more so, he had the discipline not to capture on e7 due to an incredible combination. If knight takes e7 and queen takes d6, the move rook f to d8, sacrificing the queen for a counter checkmate, a back rank checkmate, would have been an incredible counter shot for his opponent. Bobby Fischer understood that this he had prophylactic thinking to see his opponent's threat, and instead continued with an attack on the king side, winning the game in rather very nice fashion after the pieces developed toward the king side, and white wins with a crushing attack against black's king, as we see here. And finally, no game collection or review of Bobby Fischer's brilliance could be complete without the game of the century. Here Bobby Fischer, the young Bobby Fischer, only 13 years of age, playing Donald Byrne, considered a much stronger player at the time, unleashed one of the most brilliant combinations in the history of chess, starting with the move knight to a4, double exclam. A completely unheard of piece sacrifice, removing a critical defender of white's center with this double attack on the queen and knight. Hard to call it a double attack when a piece is simply hanging, but after a forced combination of eliminating the knight on f3, black would win back his piece up a pawn. Therefore, Donald Byrne made the correct decision to retreat the queen, and after knight takes c3, b takes c3, figured that his young opponent would not have the courage to capture the e4 pawn due to this obvious fork of the queen and rook. How wrong he was when the young Fischer had seen much deeper than him. Queen to b6, bishop to c4, knight takes c3, an incredible move that Fischer shows his awareness of where the game is headed much deeper than his much more mature and perhaps stronger opponent, understanding that white's king in the center is a much bigger weakness than he realizes, forcing play to open up along the e-file. Donald Byrne decided not to capture here due to the pin, followed by winning back material, and instead, after bishop c5, rook e8 check, we saw bishop to e6, an incredible combination, black sacrificing the queen on b6 for a forced series of moves in which black wins an incredible amount of material in compensation for the queen. We see a multiple series of discovered checks on this king on f1, and finally, after capturing back the bishop on b6, we see that black's pieces are simply too much for the white king to hold off, and this type of position with a huge amount of material and compensation for the queen was only a matter of time before a mating attack ensued, and now we saw the climax of this position with an incredible series of forced checks, walking the king to the edge of the board until finally the forced checkmate ends with rook to c2. The last 7 moves being completely forced, leading to this forced checkmate. We hope you enjoyed this incredible display of Bobby Fischer's brilliance. Hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you around on Chess.com.